The Bible is a living word that reads us as we read it. It's a person, a voice that proves that time is not linear, as one sentence can confirm the past, guide the present, and declare the future. You are here. I am here. He is here. We are here right now. In the tomorrow of yesterday and in the yesterday of tomorrow, I thank you for joining today. Today, we're going to talk about this cat named Abram and his wife Sarai, and how God really just, I hate to say interrupted their lives, but just chose them out of humanity and say, you know what? I'm going to bless you and I'm going to build something with you. Right? So we're going to talk about this cat, but before we do, I just want to preface this by saying if you did not listen to I Am Me, hi, I am Clarissa. And I love the Lord. I love the Word of God. I want to bridge the gap between who we are and what was written about the people in the Bible. Biblical figures are not just historical figures; they are actually us in so many ways. We have more in common with them than I think a lot of us realize, and I want to do what I can to help us to see that, so that we'll know how God is moving in our lives if we can see how God moved in their lives. So, anyhow, before we really get into it, in terms of Abram and Sarai, I have to give you a little backstory by talking about Noah, because the land that was promised um, is connected to what I'm about to share with you about Noah. So, Noah, some of you may know, some of you may not. Righteous man that God chose to spare humanity through. Uh, Sin was introduced to the world through Adam and Eve, little sly serpent. They ate the fruit, shouldn't have eaten the fruit. Boom, sin and humanity. Okay, sin got so bad on the earth that God was like, yeah, about that. I'm just gonna wipe them all out. But he spared Noah, Noah's sons, Noah's wife, and his sons' wives, and as well as all of these different species of like creatures and wildlife and things like that. So, um, once Noah and his family got off of the ark, or the massive ship, because the earth flooded, um, then Noah ended up planting a vineyard, and in time that vineyard produced fruit, and Noah was like, you know what, I'm gonna enjoy the fruit of my labor, and so he made himself some wine and indulged to the point where I guess he got a little hot because he disrobed and he was just free and comfortable, and so he was knocked out, fully exposed, and his youngest son, Ham, walked in on him and was like, "Oh my gosh." So he went and got his brothers and was like, "Yo, like, come look at Pops, man. He's like naked and everything." And his two brothers, Shem and Japheth, were like, "That's mad disrespectful, bro." Like, so they went and they strategically covered their father in his vulnerability, rather than, pointing it out and making a big deal out of it. They covered it. That's a message in and of itself. But um when Noah sobered up and found out what Ham did in disrespecting him, he actually cursed Ham's son, Canaan. Now, pause there. Why curse Canaan, the son, when it was Ham that actually was mad disrespectful? I'm glad you asked. Legacy. Legacy was a really big deal. And it was more impactful to actually curse Ham's descendants than it would have been to curse Ham, because it would have lasted longer. So, all of that to say, Canaan was cursed. Canaan was Ham's son. Canaan was cursed, and he was made to be the servant of his cousins, which would be the descendants of Shem and Japheth. Okay. So it's important for me to note right here. Ham, Noah's son, was cursed because he was mad disrespectful. Ah, come look at Pops, he's naked, da da da. Canaan was the ancestor of the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, some other ites. Okay. And that's important to note because, spoiler alert, when God promises to give Abram some land, he is promising him this land. He's promising him the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, all these different ites. Okay. So Abram is actually a descendant of Shem, which is one of the other sons of Noah. Okay. So I wanted to kind of give you that backstory. And there's more to be said about Noah and all of them. But again, I'm not here to read the Bible to you. I am here to provoke you to read it for yourself and go dig for those juicy nuggets and things like that. But anyhow, here we go. Abram, Sarai, they're doing well. They have a lot of livestock. They have servants and all kind of stuff. They're doing well, kicking it with their family in this land. And one day God just says, you know what? I want you to move from this land that you're living in right now, which was called Haran. Um, I want you to move from there, and I'm going to make you into a great nation, and I'm going to bless you with all of this land, and I'm going to bless you with descendants, and just let's go. Get your stuff and let's ride out. And I'm going to show you where it is that I want you to be. And Abram, he was like, babe, um, I just had this conversation with God, and he told me like we gotta go. So pack all your things up and we gonna roll out in the morning, whatever. So Abram, Sarai, their servants, all of their riches and things, they travel. And one of Abram's nephews, Lot, actually said, yo, Unc, like I'm coming with you. So Lot went and traveled with them. And so Abram was 75 years old when his wife, Lot, and all of these people just decided, you know what, we're going to leave from where we are. We're going to go to where God will show us. Um, they traveled, they explored the land, they made it to the land of Canaan, and they explored the land and they're like, this is all right. So they camped out and just kind of was kicking it there until famine hit. Now, famine is essentially when it's like no food, like the nation's pantry is empty. Like we need food, and you have no food, and you have a lot of hungry people. So now you got a lot of hangry people, and it's like, bro, like we got to find the food. So they ended up going to the land of Egypt, which is a whole cycle. We're going to see this again later on in the book of Genesis with, now I'm going to tell you when I tell you. Anyhow, they ended up going to this land of Egypt, kingdom of Egypt. And before they made it in, Abram was like, okay, babe, you a baddie. Like you fine on fine on fine on fine. If we go in there and these dudes find out that I'm your husband, they're gonna kill me. So don't tell them I'm your man. Tell them I'm your brother. Because if they think I'm your brother, they gonna take care of me. Like they gonna treat me right because they want to be in my good graces. But if they think I'm your man, like they gonna wipe me out because now I'm competition and they want you, whatever. So just tell them I'm your brother. And Sarai was like, I don't know, babe, like, but I don't know that she actually said that, but I don't know what that conversation looked like for real. But what we do know is she complied and she did exactly that. And so they made it into Egypt, and that's what happened. She was turning eyes like they were just stuck on Sarai. And even the king of Egypt, which the title of the king of Egypt, they call Pharaoh. Okay. So if I reference him as Pharaoh, it's kind of like it's a title. It's like the Pope is a title. It's not his name. So Pharaoh is a title. It means the king of Egypt. So Pharaoh even was like, yo, and she ended up staying in the palace with Pharaoh, and they hooked Abram up. They gave him riches, they gave him more livestock, they gave him male and female Egyptian servants, like, they took care of him. But in the midst of Sarai staying with the king of Egypt, God was like, "Y'all, this is not my plan." And he ended up striking Egypt with a plague, which could be anything. It could have been land sickness, it could have been, people sickness, it could have been like infiltration of some kind of pest. Like, we'll see that later on also. But he struck him with a plague, which got Pharaoh's attention, and Pharaoh's like, "Abram, what did you do, man? Like, we over here minding our business. You came to us because you hungry, and how could you do this? Like, you set me up." And so he actually was like, "Grab your stuff, take your wife, get out." So that's what they did. They ended up leaving. Mind you, they left with a lot more than what they went in there with. So Abram was set, he was good, and Lot, he was set, he was good too. Like, his livestock were reproducing, like, everybody was growing, they were good, to the point where it started to be a problem. And so Abram, his workers started beefing with Lot's workers because they kinda outgrew their space, and the workers were like, "Yo, man, like, your sheep eating our grass," kinda thing, and it was just like, it wasn't working. So Abram and Lot had this conversation, and Abram's like, "Listen, nephew, it's no bad blood between us, but look at all this land, bro. Like, we need to separate. Choose wherever it is you wanna go there, settle there. Imma go the other direction, and we'll be good." So Lot was like, "All right, Unc, like, mad love to you." He grabbed his things, and he went and he found a space near this very wicked and corrupt town called Sodom and a neighboring town called Gomorrah. So he actually settled near this town or these towns. And, after they separated, God had another conversation with Abram and let him know, like, "Look around. As far as your eyes can see, it's all yours. Like, I'm gonna give it to your descendants. And, um, I'm also gonna give you more descendants than you will even know what to do with. Imma give you more than you can count." And so it was like, "Okay, cool, God's gonna bless me." And so, meanwhile, a war broke out. Okay, some time passed, this war broke out in the region. Um, it was a lot of kings. Now, let me give you Imma put a plug right here. So, we'll talk a lot about kings in the Bible, not for nothing. But back in the day, the idea of these if you had a space of land, you kind of put your stake in the ground and it's like, this is my land. If I have people, then they're my subjects, okay? And I'm gonna have riches. My reputation is based on how I can expand my kingdom. So if I have more land, if I have more territory, my kingdom is larger. I might have more subjects. So I want people who are going to be under my reign, so to speak. Um, I'm gonna have my own set of rules, my laws. We're gonna have our own customs, all of this other stuff. So a lot of the times, these kings would be like stepping on each other's toes because it's like, "Yo, I really want your land." So they would have these wars with each other because they wanted to take over the land and become the king of that land and expand their own kingdom. But then you also had times when kingdoms would just be like, "We're gonna be allies. Like, I got your back. If anybody ever comes stepping to you, I got you. Just call for me. Like, we're good. We'll live peaceably amongst one another," or whatever. So, that's kind of what happened right here. We had this war break out. There were 4 kings that fought against a group of 5 kings, and who were just like tired. Like, I'm not trying to live like this anymore or whatever. So anyway, they had some beef. And in the beef, 2 of the kings that were a part of this beef were the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, these very wicked kingdoms. And so in all of this drama, Lot ended up getting kidnapped and taken into hostage. Lot and all of his riches and all of his things, because the land got plundered and they got swept. And so when Abram found out that nephew was in some trouble, Abram, he called his boys and they like, "Yo, we gonna go get him." And so They handled their business like they roll up, they took care of business, and they won against these other kings and got everything back. Everything that belonged to Sodom and Gomorrah, everything that belonged to Lot, they got all of it back. And so the king of Sodom was like, "Yo, Abram, like, I appreciate you for coming through. Like, you took care of us or whatever. Like, you can have all of the riches that you want. Like, just give me my people back." And Abram's like, "Nah, man, like, cause what I'm not gonna do is have you thinking that you made me rich. Nah, we're not gonna do that. You can keep all your stuff. Just take care of my boys and make sure Lot gets all his stuff back and you can have it all." And that's exactly what happened. And so God spoke to Abram again and he just reminded him, "I got you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to bless you beyond your imagination. I'm going to give you land riches. I'm going to make a great nation out of you. I'm going to give you all of these descendants." And Abram, he was like, "Yeah, I hear you and everything, but like all of this stuff you're going to give me, like it's not going to be for nothing if I really don't have any heir. I'm going to have to leave it all with one of my servants." And God is like, "I said what I said. Like, Imma do what I said I'm gonna do." And, they ended up doing this act. They cut these animals in half and all of this stuff, but it was really just like a way for God to, like, show, "This is a mark of the covenant. Like, this is I'm telling you what I'm telling you." It's kinda like a I hate to minimize it by saying it's like a pinky promise, but it was like a kinda like a pinky promise on steroids, where God was like, "Yo, this is we're in agreement with each other on this. Like, I'm telling you, this is I'm promising you this." So then God said, "Imma give you all these things, but it's not gonna be without a struggle. Imma let you know that right now. You're gonna have all these people, more than the stars you can count, more than the sand grains that you can count. But they gonna suffer a little bit, like 400 years, they're gonna be in this land, they're gonna run into some trouble. But Imma make sure after some generations that it's gonna play out the way that I'm telling you it's gonna play out." And so I think we're gonna stop right there for now, and then we'll jump into Abram and like when he starts actually having these descendants that we're talking about in our next episode, Lord's willing. All right. So I hope y'all stuck it out with me for this long. If not, I understand. It's not for everyone. If so, thank you. I really appreciate you for giving me a chance. I look forward to when we meet again if the Lord allows. And until then, bye for now.